I'm going to explain why the WNBA's recent approval of a strike may be the worst decision in professional sports history. Because these players appear to have overlooked one small fact, even if they are requesting 33% of league income. There has never been a profit in this league. In 28 years, not once. But first, let me ask you a question before we go into the complete craziness that is about to happen. Tomorrow, your manager might say, "Here's 4 times your current salary." Would you decline? Would you act like a toddler at Toys R Us by crossing your arms and pouting in the corner? Because that's precisely what's taking place at the moment. Moreover, the consequences will be disastrous. This is what you must comprehend. A proposal to increase maximum compensation from $250,000 to almost $2 million over the course of the agreement was recently abandoned by the WNBA owners. Give that some thought. $2 million. The average salary would increase from about $120,000 to more than $770,000. In the first year alone, minimum compensation would surpass $250,000. It's not a raise. This is a total financial makeover. However, the players' union declined.
Why?
Due to the fact that it falls short of the crucial 33% revenue share threshold. And it seems that values are more important than almost tripling your salary.
These ladies are getting quadruple their salary raises. Quadruple. Which one of you guys, you go into work and your boss says, "Here, we appreciate you guys. Here's 4x what you're currently making." Who's complaining? Who's saying no? You see that? You see my people's eyebrow? Who's saying no? Who's complaining? Who's saying, "Oh yeah, but that's not enough for me"?
I don't think the players comprehend revenue sharing. Therefore, let's discuss what it actually implies. Currently, 15% of net revenue is offered by the league. 30% of the total revenue is what the players seek. Can you tell the difference? Gross versus net. Look, we need to keep the lights on, the owners are saying. We have to cover marketing, operations, travel, and arena expenses. We don't care, the players are saying. Before you pay a single bill, give us 33% of everything that comes in. It's not a negotiation. That is a demand for a ransom. This is where things start to become pretty interesting. Brianna Stewart and Nafisa Collier make up the executive committee that has the authority to declare a strike. You are aware, the co-founders of the rival 3-on-3 league, Unrivaled. Additionally, Niga Umik has already committed to another rival league, Project B. Let me clarify this. The individuals with the power to shut down the WNBA have direct financial stakes in competing leagues, which would profit greatly from the WNBA's demise. Additionally, this conflict of interest is not being discussed by the mainstream media. Nobody, not even ESPN or The Athletic. Convenient, huh? It's one of the most professional middle fingers I've ever seen, according to a statement released by the league. We strongly disagree with the Player Association's portrayal of negotiations, which profoundly misrepresents the current conversations. Translation: the public is being misled by you. We're offering uncapped revenue sharing that grows with the league's success, the owners are stating. You're acting like we're the evil guys while we're offering you instant pay rises that might completely transform your lives. In fact, the audacity is amazing.
The mischaracterizations. The Players Association is making it seem like the owners aren't trying to compromise. They're making it seem like the league isn't trying to negotiate. They're making it seem like the league isn't negotiating in good faith. And by everything that I've seen, the league is the one negotiating in good faith.
I'll paint you a picture. Assume you are 16 years old. Your first car is purchased by your wealthy father. The vehicle is a Mercedes C-Class. Gorgeous, dependable, and elegant vehicle. However, you desired the AMG. You desired the upgraded model with all the bells and whistles, including the body kit and leather seats. What do you do then? You have an outburst. You sulk while sitting in the corner. You complain on Twitter about how unfair your life is. These players are currently like that. However, they are not 16. Before Caitlin Clark arrived, no one was watching these grown adults participate in a professional sport.
WNBA players are reminding me of, they remind me of that rich kid getting their first car, and they get mad when daddy gets them a C-Class Mercedes instead of the AMG. How dare you How dare you only give me the C class? I know you got money. Give me the AMG. I'm spoiled, I'm a brat, and I'm entitled to your money.
Isn't that the elephant in the room? One player, a rookie, brought attention to a league that has been pleading for attention for decades, which is why everyone is celebrating these ratings. However, the seasoned players are suddenly behaving as though they created this momentum, as if they are the cause of arenas selling out. Like they should profit from a surge in popularity that, let's face it, might end as soon as Caitlyn departs. Prove you can sustain this, the owners are saying. Present the ratings to us. Stay put. The AMG acquisition will then be discussed. However, before they've demonstrated that they can even merge lanes without damaging the paint, these players want it now. What kills me is this. This strike was approved by 98% of players. This indicates that just 2 or 4 players were wise enough to think, wait, maybe we shouldn't blow up a deal that would make us millionaires. Out of more than 100 players, there are 2 to 4. Consider that. Even players who understand that this is financial suicide are scared to speak up because they believe that voting against the union would make you a traitor. You're not helping your sisters. You're safeguarding your own financial future, so don't worry. Ignore the possibility that this could forever ruin the league. Since this is peak entitlement, let's discuss the housing issue. The league desires to cease housing athletes that have contracts that are guaranteed. You know, NBA players get their own housing, just like players in every other American major sports league. NFL players look for homes on their own. However, this has angered the WNBA players. Breanna Stewart and Natasha Cloud claimed that the league's announcement that housing would still be provided for players on 7-day contracts, training camp participants, and players traded in the middle of the season was insufficient. Really? Therefore, even if the league is shielding the players who are most at risk, those on the bubble, that is insufficient for you. When does personal accountability come into play? One of the most astute sports businessmen in the game, David Sampson, emerged and made a statement that ought to frighten these players. According to him, the NBA will set a revenue-sharing limit that will force the WNBA to close its doors. The players demand income sharing, but they won't grant it, and eventually the women will give in. Here's the problem, though. This lingers on every day, so eventually it might be too late. The impetus is destroyed by every headline about strikes and holdouts. Casual fans become ardent supporters as a result. Furthermore, those individuals are not returning. The owners are engaging in sincere negotiations. They keep raising their offer. In order to explicitly link player pay to league expansion, they are proposing uncapped revenue sharing. You succeed if the league succeeds. Should your paychecks and profits both soar. That is what a partnership is. However, the players' union is adamant about this 33% figure as if it were a sacred book. Just demands, no compromise or flexibility. Additionally, you threaten to strike if you don't get your way. Negotiation is not what that is. Extortion is what that is. Are you curious about what's actually going on here? The participants exaggerated how much leverage they had. They believed they had all the power all of a sudden because of the Caitlin Clark effect. They believed that if the WNBA closed, fans would riot in the streets. But take a look at the responses on social media. Check out the comments on these articles. Some are urging, let them strike. We recently weathered months without WNBA basketball and we were fine. Individuals are arguing, maybe it's time to let this league die if the players don't want to be saved. Nobody wants to receive that reality check. This is when things become considerably messier. The rookies have contracts. There is a contract for the upcoming draft class. Therefore, the owners might hypothetically declare, okay, we'll play the season with rookies and replacement players, in the event that the veterans strike. Every gifted player waiting abroad who would kill for a WNBA deal will be signed by us. We'll start over from scratch. Will the final product be as good? No. Will it be inexpensive, though? Of course. Perhaps this league needs it. A firm reminder that playing professional basketball is a privilege rather than a right. The participants are consuming kindness at a startling rate. People agreed with the narrative that they deserved more money for years. Yeah, they should get paid better, observed even casual admirers. However, The request has now changed from fair compensation to ridiculous demands. In a league that experiences annual financial losses, the issue at hand is income distribution. Currently, the NBA owners are funding your entire business, which accounts for around 33% of revenues. When they read these compensation offers, the typical American worker asks themselves, "Are you kidding me? Are you whining about being a millionaire?" There is a real and expanding divide. This is the result of confusing entitlement with support. We support the WNBA because we want these players to be successful. Our goal was to see growth in women's basketball. Support, however, does not equate to mindless allegiance. We don't have to agree with every choice, demand, or threat in order to show support. These players are currently testing that assistance in ways that are obviously beyond their comprehension. Because you can never win back the casual fan or the people that watched Caitlin Clark and stayed for the competition. They will never return. An important point was made in the league statement. Sustainability throughout time. That means that if we give you everything you want, we'll go bankrupt in 3 years. The proprietors aren't acting avaricious. They're acting sensibly. We literally cannot afford 33% revenue sharing and keep this league operational, they declare after examining the bank records. However, that is not what the athletes want to hear. They want their money, and they want it right now. They also don't care if the league collapses in 5 years because they will have made their millions and moved on by then. This is a question that no one is asking. What happens if they attack and no one notices? What happens if casual fans simply shrug and move on with their lives in the event that the season is cancelled? What would happen if players chose to wait for more money rather than seize the greatest opportunity this league has ever had, causing the momentum from 2024 to vanish? Since that is the worst scenario, and it appears more plausible every day, the present deal can be terminated by the WNBA within 48 hours. The Players' Union does the same. This implies that it could blow up at any time. Some players have to get up quickly. The age of Diana Taurasi is 38. She is 39 if the season is cancelled. After a year off, how many teams are signing a 40-year-old guard? The age of Elena Del Don is 35. The age of Skylar Diggins-Smith is 35. With only 2 or 3 years remaining in their careers, these veterans are prepared to give up one of those years on principle for what? A revenue-sharing percentage point. That's crazy. It's suicide for a career. But at least they'll be proud, right? Pride cannot be deposited in the bank. On this story, the mainstream media is utterly failing. Every report and article is written by a professional. The difficult questions are not being asked. The executive committee's conflict of interest is not being brought up by anyone. No one is elucidating the significance of net revenue versus gross revenue. Simply put, the players are courageous. The athletes are defending themselves. More is what the players deserve. All right. But what is the basis for deserving? Sentiments. Hypothetical success in the future. Because if we base this on actual outcomes, earnings, or financial performance, the players don't have a leg to support oneself. This is where we are, then. The proprietors of the WNBA have made these players an offer that would drastically alter their lives. Because it doesn't reach an artificial percentage that makes them feel important, the players declined. We're currently facing a possible strike that might end the league's momentum, drive away supporters, and ruin careers. All due to the fact that some individuals were unable to accept a 7-fold pay raise. All because pride was more important than practicality. And when this unavoidably blows up in their faces, when the season is cancelled due to the owners calling their bluff, when fans go and never return, don't say nobody warned them, because the writing is on the wall and it's written in red ink. And that's the elephant in